Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. All right. Let's just start with, I think a lot of us go into work without realizing the reality of the workplace, right? And so it's a microcosm that represents kind of the world, but a smaller, tighter space.
Right. So when you get into the workplace, you're shrinking your world, right? And you're, like you said earlier, you're with people that you may not necessarily enjoy.
Yeah.
And you got to figure out how to get along.
And when you're there all day and you work so hard, and it's tied to, there's sometimes a fear based in there too. Your job is tied to your security, right?
Absolutely.
That's how you make a living. And so that affects our mental health. And you are the founder of the Antidote, A Better You. Tell us about that initiative.
So we are an integrative group mental health practice. We start with the root cause of what's going on with your mental health. And a lot of people just kind of are wanting to fix quickly, but that doesn't always work. Sometimes it's something else that is deeper.
Yeah.
And when I say deeper, I mean it goes all the way to your gut.
Yeah.
And so your gut and your brain are connected. And so we go back to the root cause. We're going to look at everything with regards to what's going on with you, just not mentally, but also physically. We're going to look at your blood work. And so we start there, and we start with your blood work and figure out where your deficiencies are and what we need to do to help you get there, because a lot of times fixing how your gut works fixes your brain.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's a lot easier. We don't want you to spend forever in therapy. We want you to get out. So we're going to put you with working with a therapist, working with a nutritionist, whomever we need to put you with in order to get you to a healthy, happy, whole place.
Yeah, yeah. When you say gut, so I never thought about it in that sense. It's like truly your gut, right?
It is.
Versus that kind of psychological gut, that gut
Exactly.
feeling. And a lot of that shows up in work. I would venture to say if we had a time machine and we could go into a work office where things aren't working well and went back to the playground, we'd see those same people on the playground, right? Because what a lot of people bring into work is what they dealt with as children.
Absolutely. If you were a bully on the playground and if you threw sand in people's face, you do it again in the workplace. It doesn't change much. People don't change.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So it's a good lesson for, I think, a lot of young people in particular. It's too late for a lot of us. But going in to evaluate what you are doing, is this a career or is this a job? Sometimes a career is something intentional. You may have gotten higher education for, you want to move and advance in.
Correct.
And I guess sometimes a job can be, look, I'm just paying the bills so I can go on vacation every now and then.
That's right. A job is more or less temporary. It's a placeholder. A career is something that you want to build on. You're building with more education, you're building with more courses, whatever that happens to be. For me, I had a very long career, and I was like, how can I put all 40 years of my career under one roof?
Yeah.
You know, I was in special events and PR. I was in a stay-at-home mom for years. And then all of a sudden I got a divorce and I had to figure out how to make my life work. And so I went back to school. So for me, this became a career. And the Antidote was putting all of that under one roof.
Yeah.
So that we could teach you how to become, basically better about yourself. But we also hold workshops. And so we do events within the building, and it's kind of fun.
Yeah, and then to understand each other, that's the biggest thing, right? Because understanding who in their office may have a career, who in your office may have a job. Because, I was talking about this with our executive producer yesterday, and he was mentioning, for some people, you wonder, why are you not working as hard as I am? Why is your work ethic not as crazy as mine? It's like, well, they have a different perspective.
Well, and they also have a balance. There's a work-life balance that is really necessary, otherwise you burn out really quickly.
Yeah, all right. So some of the biggest issues in the workplace on the employer side is not enough good, dependable workers, and they invest time in training, but they're not retaining, right? And on the employee side, lack of growth potential, lack of motivation, and lack of that sense of value sometimes attached to monetary, like, I need to make more, right? Okay, let's go into some of these questions here. Maria says, my daughter just graduated with honors from business school with her MBA. It's been 6 months and she still hasn't found a job. She can't just keep filling out online applications forever. Is there value in showing up in person or even sending a handwritten note?
Absolutely. I mean, when was the last time you got a handwritten note?
Yeah.
It's probably been a while.
You're right,
But if you got one, you would be really impressed that somebody took the time.
You remember them.
Yes, and you do remember them. If they come by and they drop off a resume, that doesn't happen much anymore. Now, when you and I were starting out in the business, what did you do? You mailed resumes, you wrote cover letters, you got in front of
that
people.
Version of I had to go beyond, because I thought they have a bunch of tapes and boxes when I'm in my business, right? And they have lots of resumes as well. I actually sent my the news director a the food that you get in a Chinese carryout box, and I had a fortune cookie, and I replaced the fortune and said, Confucius says hiring Deborah would be a good deal.
Right,
so I was taking a gamble, right? But what he said was, if you're creative like this, I hope you're creative in your stories, and that was my first break into television. All right, James says, when it comes to references, how do you pick the right ones? Is it better to choose people with big reputations or those who can really speak to your character and work ethic?
Find somebody who can speak to your character.
Yeah.
Just because.
But that could be your mom, and we don't believe you.
Well, we don't want to go that way. Even though it would be a great reference. But that person knows your work ethic. They know who you are. They know your soul, and that's really important, because otherwise you're just checking a box.
Yeah.
And you don't want to check a box. You want somebody who knows you and who can speak about you, not somebody who's just dad called up and said, "Hey, my kid needs a favor."
Yeah, and they're gonna look at that and go, "Oh, they know so and so," right? And then also another issue. I have lots of friends who will say, "Hey, can you write a reference letter because I'm on TV for my child?" And I go, what's her name again? Right?
Who is she?
Yeah. So and just sometimes making sure that it's a sincere reference. Like I always want to do a reference when it's sincere, like I really do know your child, right?
Right.
All right, Linda. Here's a tricky one. A close friend asked me to be here we go, reference for her son. The problem is I don't think he has a great work ethic, and she wants me to exaggerate his abilities. How do I protect the friendship without damaging my own reputation?
Well, your reputation is going to be damaged if you do this.
Yeah.
So, the easiest thing to do is to say, you know what, I don't think I'm the right person to write for this. I think somebody else can write better on his strengths.
Yeah.
And let somebody else do it and back out gracefully.
You're being nice about it, as opposed to saying, do you really think Billy is somebody that... Right.
But this preserves your friendship
yes,
too.
This is true.
And that's more important.
Yeah. All right. Christopher, my son got invited to interview for a job in his field. I told him to call them right away, but he blew it off and said, I'll handle it after vacation. He thinks following up quickly is old school. I told him how to respond to an interview request shows how you'll be as an employee who's right here. Okay, so that's another thing that's a little bit different. We talk about that with this new generation. I'm not sure if it's a new generation or generational, right? Like
I think it's more generational.
Yeah.
But there's not a sense of urgency. Guess what? Vacation doesn't pay the bills.
Yeah.
But getting on top of something does. And who's doing the hiring? Anybody between the ages of 35 and say 60.
Yeah.
That's our generation. We like to be connected with.
Yeah.
We didn't grow up on technology. So if you do have that sense of urgency and you do get that information to somebody, they're going to appreciate it.
Yeah, I remember, speaking of old school, I remember my mom always saying the early bird gets the worm.
That's
because the other thing is when you create that space and time, you create the opportunity for them to hire somebody before they even see you.
That's right.
Okay.
You get in front of them.
Tanisha, I've got a high school senior heading to college soon. With AI taking over so many industries, what fields of study do you see as smart majors for the future? And with that said, we know AI is kind of all up in the air right now with chat and all the whole bit, chat GPT, with people getting their therapy from
That's
chat,
correct.
right? So here's that clash of humans and machines and gathering of information and what makes sense.
So why not combine both?
Yeah.
So a little technology, a little bit of humanity is what's going to push you further down the future lines. It's the data sciences, it's psychology. It's engineering. It's things that require not only math, which AI is great at, but it requires judgment and it requires creativity, which is where the human approach comes in. So combine the two.
Yeah.
There's plenty
And then
of things
the other
out
thing
there.
too is there's like kind of reading between the lines here. She's like, heading to college, what industry without AI taking over? It's almost like don't eliminate things because you think something's going to happen. If you love doing something, I still think you're going to find a way to do that.
Well, like we talked backstage, it's your passion.
Yeah.
You do what you're passionate about, and that's what's going to make you successful.
Yeah.
It's not about what's new and what's trendy.
Yeah, and then tapping into your skill set. I know like almost every student I know who's a good student, even back when I was in school, if you were a good student, you'd say, okay, so what are you going off to college to do? It's like, oh, I'm pre-med or I'm going to be pre-law. And 9 times out of 10, a lot of those kids would go, I really don't want to do this.
No.
I'm expected to do that because I'm a good student.
Right.
Where the pressure was off on the C student who just said, I'm just going to go do major in this and see what happens, right?
Right.
But making sure that you tap into what do I really want to do? Because we're talking about this being a job, a career, something that you're going to show up to and work hard at. What am my skill set? What am I good at?
Well, and what you're good at won't feel like a job.
Yeah.
It'll feel
you
like
can work
a pleasure.
hard but not feel like you're working.
That's right. And it'll be pleasurable to go to work as opposed to getting up in the morning and going, oh, I don't want to be there. I don't want to do this. That's not what you want.
Okay,
because
but
that's what you're going to do all day long.
Because that's the other issue that a lot of kids go through.
But
It's like,
parents already got to pick what they wanted to do. Why not let the kid pick what they want to do?
yeah, because they're not making the right decision.
No. I mean, your child knows themselves better, and they know kind of what makes them bubble inside and what makes them happy.
Yeah.
And that's what's important, is what makes them happy.
All right.